Can you see this screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So first of all, whoever preparing for any competitive examination, I would like to tell few important things one should keep in mind. Okay. So let me minimize this and see. First, I'll just maybe 2-3 minutes I'll take, which is very important. Then we will go to problems. First thing, what we should know is any student who is preparing for any competitive exam, you should prepare yourself many things, and then based on your preparation, you should able to solve the problems. Okay, so it is like first you don't go with directly solving the problems. Take a problem, solve it, and if you are not getting, then look into the matter as what is the content. First, at least in my opinion, what you should do is you should prepare a notes, your own notes. Take any standard textbook, then write down definitions, examples, counter examples, even statements, and prepare your notes on your own with your understanding for one prescribed book. For example, take for real analysis, you can, a very good book is there, uh, Basic Real Analysis by Professor Kumareshan and Ajit Kumar. That is extremely useful for any competitive exam. Okay, and also for understanding the subject. That book is both ways, it is very useful. So you can take that book, starting from that book, try to write down all the key points. Once you finish any one book, then you take any other book and go through it. If any point is missed, okay, which is not there from your earlier book, you note down that one. Okay, so if you see, just once you finish one entire notebook textbook, then there will be very few points left out in any other textbook. Okay, so you prepare your own notes, that is the most important. Once you prepare your own notes, then you can refer any coaching class material, that is secondary. Okay, so don't just go with only coaching class material, or whoever, just like us, whoever give notes, don't depend only on that. Your most important thing is you should prepare your own notes. Okay, even when I give my lectures, I prepare my own notes, just like you can say key points for entire that particular subject. What is the advantage? Whenever, suppose after 2-3 days you have an exam, then you can just recall your key points for all subjects, say real analysis, linear algebra, any other topic you take. If you have a key points, within 1 hour you can entirely revise real analysis. Within 1 hour you can realize, you can recall linear algebra, like that. But if you don't have a key points, then you have to carry lots of books with you, and going through that, it may not be that much easy to recall. So you, key points actually makes you prepare just before exam also you can recall. And see, sometimes formula you may have to recall, some statement you may have to recall. So at that time, this type of keynotes, your own notes, will help so much, right? Then second one, after you prepare the notes, then go for, you take some questions whichever asked in previous exams. Collect questions subject wise. Okay, don't start solving entire question paper. For example, 1 to 5 is reanalysis, then immediately linear algebra, then differential equation. Don't solve like that. Your next step is question, collect all questions particular to that subject, say real analysis. Then you prepare, you solve all those problems based on your understanding. If some problem you are not understanding, then look for somewhere else, any material can help or not. If you prepare subject wise, sort out questions and solve it, then you can understand and you can do it better. Okay, and everything is finished, then you can take some random question paper and try to solve all questions in that. So you can say 3 steps you divide and prepare your, it will be very helpful. Okay. Fine. Now what I will discuss in this lecture is some basics, starting from basic set theory, then limits, limit point, okay, and say countable sets, uncountable sets, then sequence and series of real numbers, and sequence and series of functions. We'll try to cover some problems, and remember, due to less time, I not covering the key points. Otherwise, usually what I do whenever I take a lecture, I discuss the subject. For example, take a countable set. What are all you know about countable sets? You discuss before solving the problems. If you know about limit points, what are all we know about limit points? So once you recall the subject and understand the subject, then you can go for solving the problems. Okay. So let me share again. There is that screen. Yeah, can you see now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we'll I have arranged in such a way that we will go from topic wise, and some easy questions, some difficult questions. If you say, suppose this one, you take a basic, very basic problem. This says that if you take A is any bounded set, A is a bounded subset of R, okay, then it contains finitely many elements. So can somebody tell among this, which of them are, it can contain only finitely many elements? If A is a bounded subset of R, what is meant by bounded subset? There exists some positive such that every element of this A is less than or equal to that, right? Okay, that means you can say that A is contained in some closed interval like this, right? So among this, if A is contained like this, then whether there will be only finitely many reals or finitely many irrationals, rationals or integers, which one you think? Always, it should be true always. Yes?
Reals.
Real. There will be only finitely many reals. Contains only finitely many reals.
Maybe infinite.
Yes?
Maybe infinite.
Reals and
Integers, sir.
Integers. How many of you think that there are only finitely many integers? And why the previous three are not correct? See, you should try to learn, not just focus on only one answer, because nowadays net exam, multiple correct answers will be there. So you should able to know each and every option. Can you give an example quickly, which is a bounded subset of R, where you will have infinitely reals, irrationals, rationals? Why these three fail? Can you give an example? Can you give an example of set which is bounded but infinitely many elements are there of these reals, rational and irrational?
Open interval 1, 2.
Very good, very good. So if you take open interval 1, 2, we know that it is a bounded set, subset of R. But Any interval, what we know about property of an interval? Any interval contains uncountably many rationals as well as irrationals, right? But now what about integers? Why integers? There will be only finitely many integers. From this, what we know? In an interval, how many maximum number of integers will be there? If you find length of this interval, yes. So number of integers in, if you take any interval a comma b, is less than or equal to b minus e. Length of that interval. Is that clear? So because it is a interval, bounded interval, length of that interval is finite. So there you will have only finitely many intervals. Is that clear? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
I said again, everyone try to respond. If you are not understanding, you can ask. Even if your answer is wrong, no problem. You try to answer it. Okay. It is again in a simple question. Set of natural numbers. What we know about n? Whether n has a maximal element? No, right? Whether n has an upper bound?
No, sir.
No,
sir.
Right? So it has no maximal element. It also has no upper bound. What can you say about lower bound?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
One.
sir.
I have already written, right? At least everybody can know this one. Okay. It's a simple question, but if such questions will ask, you should be able to do it properly. Okay. So, fine. Let's go to another one. Which one of the following is a countable set? What is meant by saying something is a countable set? When we say that a set is countable, what is meant by saying some set is countable? A set is countable if if there exists a
with set of natural numbers.
Very good. If there exists a bijective maps from it is equivalent to n, right? Set of natural numbers. That means there exists a bijective map from x to n. This should be bijective. Okay. What are all examples we know already for countable sets? This is Q, right? We know Q is countable or not? It's a basic example that Q is always countable. We know that this is uncountably real numbers, and we know that irrationals, which is R minus Q, is uncountable. Someone is microphone, you put it off because there is a lot of disturbance. Okay. Okay. Let's go to another interesting one. How many of you can answer this one? This set, what can you say about this set? S, which is equal to x plus iy, okay, such that x and y are rational, so they belongs to Q. What can you say about this set? Whether it is countable, uncountable?
Countable.
Countable. Why? Why it is countable? That means, can you give a bijection to a naturals or any set which is already countable? What we know about Q? We know that Q is countable, right? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
So if we can give a bijective map from S to Q, then we can say that S is countable. So can you give a bijective map from S to Q? Because here you take any element which is just like x comma y, right? Sorry. This element is x plus iy. Okay. How we can send this? Here, if you take Q, it is not sufficient. Whereas if I take Q cross Q, we know it is also countable, right? Yes or no?
Yes,
So
sir.
now I can send this x plus iy to x comma y. So take any element x plus iy, you can uniquely send to the element x comma y, right? So therefore this is countable or not? Yes or no? So this set
Yes, sir.
S is countable because we have a bijective map with Q cross Q. Now, so these two are certainly wrong. What about bounded and unbounded? Is this set bounded? Is this set bounded?
No, unbounded.
No, sir.
Unbounded. Very good. Huh? Whether is it bounded? Can you have an upper bound for such things?
No, sir.
No, sir.
No,
sir.
right? Yeah. So this one is correct. Is that clear?
Countable and unbounded.
Whenever you answer it, you mute it, and remaining time you again, you unmute and remaining time you mute it. Fine. Let's come to little difficult problem. What can you say about these functions? Which sets are countable, which sets are uncountable? What is this set? It is just like a collection of set of functions defined on n 1, 2. Okay. So this a and d are similar. Only condition is f of 1 is less than or equal to f of 2. And b and c are similar. Another type of set you have is G such that G maps from 1, 2 to n. Okay. Whether anybody know some answer? Which of the following sets can be uncountable?
B and C.
Which one?
Second and third.
Second and third are what?
Uncountable.
Uncountable. Okay. What about others? Any other answers? See, if you take this one, for example, B you take. This F is a map such that F is defined only on 1, 2, and what is codomain is n. So if you take f of 1 and f of 2, they should be a subset of n, right? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
So whatever function f you define, its domain f of 1 and f of 1, f of 1 and f of 2, it should be a subset of n, right? Yes or no?
Yes,
so
sir.
can that set be an uncountable set? Can that set be an uncountable set?
No, sir.
So if you have, for example, such f, this collection is uncountable, then if you take, if at all, this f such that f maps from 1, 2 to n, suppose if this is uncountable, that means uncountably many f should be there. Yes or no? So if you take their unions, those values, it should be subset of n, but n we know it is a countable set. So these two, you can check that this one is countable. Similarly, this one is a countable set, right? What about the other one? What about the other one? It is just like, if you know how we can prove 0, 1 is uncountable, this you can prove it. See, suppose f such that f maps from n 1, 2. Suppose this collection is countable. That means you can represent this set as f1, f2, f3 and so on, right? We can represent them as index. We can give an index. Now we can define a new function g from this n to 1, 2. Okay, but it is not belongs to any one of these. We will get a contradiction. How we can define g? It is very simple. G at 1 somehow you define this one with respect to f of 1, and g of 2 you relate with f2, and g of 3 you relate with f3, such that g is not equal to any one of these fi's. Okay, so I will write this g you define in such a way that g of 1 is not equal to f1 of 1. Similarly, g of 2 is not equal to f2 of 2. Okay, so g of n is not equal to fn of n. For every n you define g in such a way that it is not at all difficult. Okay. Then you see that g is not equal to any one of these functions. Okay, so therefore this countable set is wrong. Is that clear? Is the idea clear? Yes or no? So now can you define how g you can define simply? So you can simply define g of n is equal to say 2 if fn of n is equal to 3 and 3 otherwise, just like that. So if you remember open interval 0 comma 1, how we have defined it is, how we shown it is uncountable, similar way you can define like this. Okay, fine. So this collection, these two sets are uncountable sets. Okay. No matter whether you have 1 comma 2 here or a comma b or any finite set you take, this collection is always uncountable collection. You don't require any condition here. Even if you put a condition, still it is valid. Okay, so this one and this one are uncountable sets. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Now let's here quickly. You have Z and Q. We know both are Z and Q both are countable. Okay. So therefore, there exists from Z to Q, there exists a, say suppose F, it is bijective. So if that means there cannot exist a bijective function, it is straight away wrong because of property of countable one, right? Now question is, there exists a unique, there exist infinitely many, which one you think? See, once you have a one bijective function, then you can have many bijective functions. Why? If you have one bijective function, then you can have many bijective functions. How? I'll define new function g, okay, in using f. For example, I'll write g of 1 as f of 2 and g of 2 as f of 1. Remaining all g of m is same as f of m for all m not equal to 1 comma 2. Is this clear? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Once you have a bijective map, then you can get another bijective map by defining like this. Simply send 1 to the value of f of 2 and to the value of f of 1. Just take two elements and you interchange their role. That's all. And remaining all elements you put it as it is. Okay. Right? Any problem? That means what I am saying is, if your f is going to this element, okay, say suppose just like this. This is your f and remaining all you have so many values. Then what you do is in G, you simply send in another way and you put it remaining elements as it is. You will get another bijective function. Yes or no? Yes or no? We are only send g of 1 to f of 2 and g of 2 to f of 1. Next time you can send g of 2 to f of 3 and g of 3 to f of 4 like that. Okay, just to change only two values and put it remaining all values are same. You will get n number of infinitely many from Z to Q. So this one is correct, right? How you will think? You should think of whether there exists only unique one or you can have infinitely many from Z to Q, right? Oh, now we'll come to a little bit about some open sets, Okay, closed sets, limit points, and you will see that this you can easily understand and answer the questions correctly. What can you say about these two statements? Arbitrary intersection of open sets, arbitrary union of closed sets. Which is correct?
First is false and second is true.
Both are
First is false. Why? Arbitrary intersection of open sets. Can you give an example? Arbitrary intersection of open sets need not be open.
Open interval -1 by n, comma 1 by n.
-1 by n, comma 1 by n. Very good. So what is the intersection of this one?
Singleton 0.
Why? Let's draw and understand, everyone. Okay. So if you put these values, suppose I will take here. Then what is first one? Which is -1 to 1. Next one is -half to half, and so on. Right? So we are taking intersection, and intersection you take, it will become smaller and smaller and smaller. Right? But you can observe that -1 by 1 is always less than 0 and is always less than 1 by n. So 0 will be always there in this one. This is true for all n. Is this clear? And can it be any other element will be there? No. Okay. So this is precisely what? Singleton 0. Okay. Is that clear? Singleton 0. So therefore, this one, we know any finite set is not open in R. Right? Are you there? Are you following? So is singleton, we know it is not open, right? So therefore, this is wrong. Right? Now what can you say about arbitrary union of closed sets? Is it closed set?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Just a second. Sorry. Yeah. What can you say about second one? Arbitrary union of closed sets. Do you think that arbitrary union of closed sets is closed?
No, sir.
No, sir.
When you studied your real analysis, we only know that finitely many union of open sets is closed sets is closed, right? So can you give a counter example?
Arbitrary union n equal to 1 to infinity closed -1 by n to 1 by n.
Minus
1 by n to 1 by n.
1 by n to why? Suppose you take something like this. Which example you are saying? Say it. I'll write and see whether. Say it. Say it again.
Closed -1 by n to 1 by n.
This one.
Yes, sir.
Do you what you will get if you take this one? Arbitrary union. So you think that this example will work? Check. Because what is union of this one? What is the union of this one? Whenever you have a difficulty, you just put it in a real line. You will easily understand. What is first one? Is -1 to 1. What is next one? -half to half. But what is union? Obviously, you get union of this one is -1 to 1 only, which is closed, right? Yes or no?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So this example doesn't work. Can you give some example, another example? What you have to do is you should take the intervals in such a way that when you take the union, somehow this closed one will become open. Okay. So how you can do it? Suppose I will take something like this. You take 0, okay, 3 minus 1 by n. Right? Just that means we are subtracting some small value from 3 and take their union. Okay. Can you tell me what is this value? If you can understand such union and intersection, then you can solve so many problems. Can somebody tell what you will get? Can somebody tell what is the union of this one?
Open interval 0 to 3.
Open 0 to 3.
Open, why open 0 you will get? Because here it is already closed.
Closed
So
open.
to understand, let's draw it again. Let's draw it again and you will see what you will get. This is the straight line. What is first time? 0 to, when n is 1, what is that one? 0 to 2.
2.
Okay, what is next time? Next time? 0 to. So if you see such thing, you will get again 0 to 2 only. Right? Yes or no? So this example is also not going to work. Right? So you have to how you have to think some example such that when you take the union, it is, if I say suppose something here plus if I take, then what you will get? Quickly.
Open 0 to 4.
Open
0 to 4.
If you observe earlier what we have written here, three minus 1 by n, right? Okay. So what is, when n is equal to 2, what you will get? So let me write this as 3. Okay. If I write this as 3, first time it is 0 to 2. Next time you are subtracting half from that, which is 2.5, right?
2.5.
Like this. Next like this, next like this. So it will approach to 3. Whereas n tending to infinity, it will approach to 3. Okay. So most of the time as n tending to infinity is 0. So it is just like either this one closed or open. Only this will happen. That much is clear. Okay. So whether this will happen or not, that you have to check. Whether 3 will be there here. Whether 3 is there. Can 3 be there in any interval?
No.
No, sir.
In any one of this interval, whether 3 is there. What we know about 3 minus 1 by n? We know it is strictly less than 3. Yes or no?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes.
So however you take n, any interval you take, 3 is greater than, strictly greater than 3 minus 1 by n. So 3 won't be there. Are you following? So what you get here is open 3, close 0 and open 3. Is this clear? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
So this is not closed, right? It is neither closed nor open. Okay. So this is also false. Are you clear?
Yes, sir.
Fine. Now let's quickly move to what we know about this one. It is a basic one. If you are written your own notes, we know that any open set we can write as is a standard statement that countable union of any open set can be written as countable union of disjoint open intervals. Is that clear? And
Yes, sir.
you try to see
Yes,
that
sir.
not every open set need not be an interval. It need not be a finite union of open intervals. It need not be intersection of open intervals. So try to give examples. I don't discuss much. One, try to give examples for A, B, and D. That these statements can fail. That means simply take an open set. It need not be an interval. Are you following? Similarly, given an open set which need not be written, cannot be written as finite union of open intervals. It is not necessarily be intersection of open intervals and so on. Okay. Oh, now what we know about this closed set? This one, it is given that A is a closed set and which is non-empty, and also it is not completely equal to R. So it is a proper closed subset of R. Then A, what can you say about A? Can it be a countable set? Can it be a compact set? When A is not open, R closure of interior of A. That means what is this one? Here it is saying that you take the interior, then you take the closure. So is A is equal to this one is the question, or A is countable set, A is a compact set, A is not open. Which one? What we know about something about R? In R, you don't have any set which is both open as well as both closed except empty set and whole set. Is that clear? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
So because A is closed implies it cannot be open in R. Okay, right? You can give a lot of examples where this will fail, this fails, and this fails. You try to give, for example, take a interval, then it cannot be a countable set. Closed interval, if you take, it cannot be a countable set. Okay, and you take some closed set such that which is not a compact set. Okay. Similarly, you check that this need not be equal to A. So what you should know is for each and every option, can you have an answer? That is most important. Okay. Fine. Now what about this one? You are in R2 and you have a closed interval A comma B. What can you say about this? Whether is it open, is it closed, neither open nor closed? Suppose if you take any point here, what is the definition of an open set? If you take any point, there should exist a neighborhood which is completely contained in that. Is that clear? So however neighborhood you take, because in R2 neighborhood means they are all disks. So you can see that some part is outside this interval. Are you following? So therefore it is not open. Okay. So this interval is not open in R2. What can you say about whether it is closed or not? If you want to check something is closed, you take its complement, right? And check whether it is open or not. So what is this? R minus R2 minus A comma B. R2 minus A comma B. That means other than this. So if I write, if I remove this part, this much part, then if you take any point anywhere, you can see that you can find a small neighborhood which is completely contained here. Therefore, this is open, which shows that this A comma B is closed. Is this clear? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Suppose if I give A comma B, what can you say about this open A comma B in R2? in R2? If I apply same logic, if you, there is a problem with endpoints, right? So think about this. What can you say about whether it is open, closed, or neither open nor closed? So far what we know, this is not open, but this is closed. So this one is a closed, right? Okay. Now we'll come to quickly limit points. What we know about a limit point? What is meant by saying something is a limit point? If we say that some point is a limit point of this set, when we will say that? If you take any neighborhood around that point, this some of the elements should of this set should intersect. Okay. Or when as when m and n are belongs to n, you try to see as n tending to infinity or m tending to infinity, what this sequence is converging. Okay. So can you tell me what is, first of all, whether anyone know answer for this one? Number of limit points?
Infinitely many.
Infinitely many. Why? Why infinitely many? For
Because
example,
if
just
we,
take m is equal to 1 and try to understand what is this set. 1 plus 1 by n. Is this clear? But we know what is the limit point for this set. There is only one limit point for this set, which is
1.
1. Very good. Because the limit point for this, which limit, or you can say it converges to 1, right? When you say m is equal to 2, suppose, then this one converges to 2, right? Yes or no? Sorry, it is 1 by 2. It converges to 1 by 2. So for a fixed m, you fix m, you will get this 1 by m plus 1 by n. Okay, this converges to 1 by m. Are you following? So these are all limit points. Are you following?
Yes, sir.
So you will have actually infinitely many limit points, namely 1, 1 by 2, 1 by 3, and so on. Whether only these are the limit points, or you have any other limit point also. What can you say about 0? Whether 0 is a limit point?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Obviously, when m and n both are tending to infinity, those values are very, very close to 0. So these are all the limit points, and obviously they are infinitely many. What can you say about this one? If you have understood that question, right? It is similar to that. What can you say about this? How many it will have? Again, infinitely many or not?
Only many, yes.
Infinitely many, right? 0 as well as of this form 2 power m. Yes or no? These are all limit points, right? Clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Any problem?
No, sir.
Any problem?
No, sir.
Okay. Now what about this? You have a set 1 by n sine 1 by n. Such that n is a natural number. What can you say about this set?
One limit point and it is 1.
One limit point and it is 1. Why? So you all know, if suppose limit exists, if limit exists, then there will be only one limit point, right? What can you say about limit of this? Or if you start writing those elements, you will see that where they are approaching to. What is this value? Can somebody tell? What is this value? What is this value?
0.0. So we have to use the L'Hospital rule.
No, you don't require. You don't require to use L'Hospital rule, because what we know about sine of anything, sine x is bounded, right? Sine x is bounded or not?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so it is a bounded function. So when you have a bounded function, then one of them is tending to 0. So this value is actually what? 0. Any problem? See, if an tends to 0 and bn is this sequence, suppose if it is bounded, then what we know? Their product also tends to 0. Right?
Yes, sir.
Is that clear? So what is the answer? There is only one limit point and that value is 0, not 1. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Very few people are replying. I don't know what is the problem for small problems. Yeah. Now what about this? You have a sequence alpha n from the interval -1, 1. Then every limit point of alpha n is in -1, 1 or closed -1, 1 or only these 3 points. What you can say? You have a sequence alpha n which is from -1, 1. Then every limit point of alpha n should belongs to here or here, or whether these 3, which should be correct. What are all possibilities for limit points of alpha n where alpha n is a sequence belongs to this interval -1, 1? Can a limit point of alpha n, can it be closed 1 or -1? That is also question. Yes? No answer?
Closed at -1, 1.
Closed -1 and 1. Why? You can construct a sequence which belongs to this interval but that converges to closed 1. Can you give it? Suppose you take 1 minus 1 by n. Right? If you take this 1 minus 1 by n, is this belongs to here or not? Yes or no? Whether this sequence belongs to -1, 1 or not? Right? Now where this converges? Where this converges? It converges to 1. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Similarly, you can take another alpha n which is -1 plus 1 by n. Then alpha n converges to -1. Okay. So -1 and 1 can be limit points. Is that clear? Right? Right?
Right. Yes, sir.
Now, whether every point, if you take suppose just like a minus 1 by n and a plus 1 by n, where a is a element of -1, 1, then you can check that a is also a limit point. So therefore, every limit point of this is here, not just only these 3. Is this clear? Okay. Right? So limit point of alpha n has to be in this interval -1, 1. Right? Okay. Quickly, what can you say about this lim sup and lim inf? So what we know about lim sup and lim inf is this is the smallest limit point. Okay, and lim sup is the largest limit point. That means if you take S, which is set of limit points, then S is contained in this interval, okay, which is lim inf and lim sup. Okay, such results are very useful when you want to find lower and upper for limit points. So if you see this one, 2 minus -1 whole power n, what can you say about these values? Whenever n is even, what you will get? This value is, whenever n is even, this is 1. So 2 minus 1 is 1 for all n even. Is this clear? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
So at all alternating place, when n is odd, for example, when n is 1, what is this will become? N is 1, this is 2 minus of minus 1 plus 1. Then next it is 3 square. Okay. When n is 3, for example, this is 3 cube. Okay, 3 cube. Then again 1, then 3 power 5, then again 1, 3 power 7, and so on. This is the sequence. Is that clear? So can you tell me now what is lim inf and lim sup? First of all, what are the limit points are available? This one is one limit point.
1 and
Yes or
2.
no? And obviously, if a sequence is not bounded above, then lim sup is infinite. Is that clear? No?
Yes, sir.
So what is lim? Lim inf is 1 and lim sup is?
Infinity.
Is this clear? Yes. If you just write the elements, you will get a clear idea. Yeah. So this example, such I have seen several times students have confusion. I have already explained this. Can you quickly tell what is this one? The idea is union you want to find. The first one is 1 comma 1, which is 1 only, right? Next one is half, then 1 by 3, which is here. So suppose this is 0. Then next it is 1 by 4 and so on. Now if you take the union, it is definitely, okay, it is coming close to 0, right? Question is whether 0 is there or not. That is the only question. Is that clear? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So the answer for this is either this or this one. Only these two will be there. Definitely these two cannot be answers. Are you following?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Now
sir.
tell me whether 0 will be there or not. Whether 0 will be there? No, right? Because what is the reason? 1 by n is strictly greater than 0 for all n. Okay. So all are coming to close to 0, but no interval have contained 0. Is that clear? Yes or no?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Yes,
sir.
So what is the answer? What is the answer? It is open 0
Open 0.
and closed 1. Right? So at least previous also we have seen such example. Now quickly tell me what is this one? What are ions? Ions are intervals 0 comma 1 by n. So it is just like 0 to 1, then 0 to half, okay, and so on. So if you take the intersection, what you will get? Quickly. Obviously, what you should understand is intersection will become smaller and smaller. Are you following? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Now, whether it is contain 0 or empty or whole or. What can you say about intersection? First, see, suppose when you take 0 comma 1 and 0 comma half, you will get intersection only this. Next time when you take intersection, you only get this. So next time you get smaller and smaller and smaller. So what is the intersection? You will see that it is smaller and smaller. So obviously these two can't be there. So either question is only either it is an empty set or 0. Whether 0 will be there?
No, sir.
No, sir. No.
Clearly 0 is not there in any one of these intervals, right? So it has to be an empty set. Are you following? Yes or no? So many times by ruling out the possibilities, you will get the correct answer. Okay. Fine. What about this? Quickly. 0 comma 1 plus 1 by n. So first time it is 0 comma 2. Then you want to take intersection. 0 comma 3 by 2. Then 0 comma and so on. So you get what you will get. Somewhere is here 1. Okay. All intervals are coming close to 0 comma 1. Are you following? 0 comma 1. So either it is 0 comma 1 or 0 comma closed 1. This intersection. Are you following? Now tell me whether 0 comma open 1 or 0 comma closed 1. Which one is correct?
Open.
Why?
Close, sir.
Question is whether 1 is there in Gn or not. If 1 is there in Gn, it will become this one. If not, it is this. Huh?
Yes,
For
sir.
every n. Whether 1 is there in Gn for every n or not.
Yes, 1 is there, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Why? Why?
Every time
Because there
1
is
plus
1
we
plus
are
1.
adding something, no? So 1 will
Very
become
good. Very
present.
good. So this is, we know already is true. Is this clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. See, it is all know that it is very, very, as n tending to infinity is 0. That means these R intervals are very, very close to 0, 1. That means your answer will be either this or this. So only you have to check whether that end point is there or not. That means whether 1 is there or not. 1 is there clearly in all such intervals. So it is true. So therefore this is not the answer. This is the answer. So intersection of Gn is open 0 and closed 1. Now what is answer from among this? Is it open? Is it closed? It is neither open nor closed. Are you following?
Yes.
It is not closed because left side it is open, and it is not open because left right side it is closed. Are you following?
Yes.
If you have any difficulty, you please ask. It is very easy one. Any problem? Shall we go?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
You can, this somebody already answered. It is, what is this one? Is 0. Is this clear? 0 is always there. Yeah. Now, it is sequence of sets. We know it converges if and only if lim sup is equal to lim inf. Okay. Lim inf is equal to lim sup of an. Okay. Now, do you know what is definition of lim inf and lim sup? If you know, then you will get it. What is lim inf of an? So whenever infimum is there, so you start with intersection. Okay. Then you take union. This is lim inf. Similarly, what is lim sup? How lim sup is defined? Because it is first you are getting supremum, so you take the union, then you take the intersection. Okay. And we also know that lim inf is always contained in, okay, lim sup. Lim sup is always bigger. Okay. So it converges if and only if what? This is always true. This is always true. Okay. So this is equal if and only if the other way is true. Are you following? Yes or no? So this converges if and only if lim inf is equal to lim sup, that is same as lim sup is contained in lim inf. Is this clear? Yes or no? Because this is always true, no matter whether it converges or not. So now what is lim sup? This one. Is this clear? Yes or no? So whenever lim sup is contained in lim inf, then that sequence converges. Right? Clear?
Yes, sir.
So if your concepts are clear, then you can solve problems very easily. This sequence of sets is very interesting one, just like sequence of functions. Sequence of real numbers, everybody knows. Sequence of sets and sequence of functions, they are very, very useful. If you can understand clearly, it is easy. Okay. Now let's, this is very easy. You can calculate limit, because what we know is that 1 minus 1 by n, limit 1 minus 1 by n whole power n is 1 by e, and limit 1 plus 1 by n whole power n is e. So if you take the product, you get 1, right? Okay. This is interesting. You take a and b to are real numbers, okay, somewhere. I'm not saying which is bigger and so on. So just take it. Now you want to find supremum of a comma b. Can somebody tell what is the supremum of a comma b? That means which is bigger, how you will write in terms of this. This is actually like this. Okay. By 2 is below. So what you do is, it's very simple. When you want to go to the highest one, first you be in between. That means a plus b by 2, middle point. Now question is, if b is bigger, you want to travel this much time. this much place, or if A is bigger, you have to travel to this much. Then you will reach the bigger one. Are you following? So you have two places, you stand in between, and whichever is bigger, you try to travel that side. Okay, right? So if B is bigger, then this much distance you want to travel. That means B minus A plus B by 2. Okay, or if A is bigger, then you want to travel A minus A plus B by 2. Right? So what you will get answer? What you will get? How you will get this one? This is same as 2B, right? 2B minus B, which is B minus A by 2. So this much we should add to this one. Are you following? So A plus B by 2 plus B minus A by 2. Or if A is bigger, so we want to add this quantity, which is mod A minus B by 2, when we don't know which is bigger. Are you following? Yes or no? So if you see this B, A plus B plus mod A minus B by 2. Can you tell me what is infimum? If you understood that, can you tell me what is infimum of this? You have to simply, instead of adding this, you have to subtract this. So which is A plus B by 2. From this, you simply subtract A minus B by 2. Are you following? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.